Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to the first of this series, One Composition a Day Until We're All Dead, which I think is exactly the way we should ride out the apocalypse. We should die as we have lived, writing music and putting good things into the world. And honestly, seriously, composers, you should do this every day. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's just a sketch. It doesn't have to be for anything. It should just be writing for the sake of writing to get your structure chops together, you know? When I was younger, I used to stop every time I had a stupid idea. I would just, which was most of the time. And by the way, that's going to be how it is most of the time. Most everything we do sucks, even when you know what you're doing. So when I would start with an idea and I didn't like it, I would just stop until I came up with a good idea, which means that my actual output was fairly low. And instead, what I learned over time is to actually, no matter how stupid an idea is, get it out, like purge it, like get it out of the system. First of all, because it gets you in the habit of writing more, and you're actually getting more stuff done, and this is for the deaf. And also sometimes things come out of it. It's easier to fix something than to create something. So even if something comes out and it's really stupid, it's at least you have a reference point to just go, well, it's not that, but maybe it should be this, and you might accidentally be in the process of writing without meaning to, and that's a good thing. So I would do that.
Yeah, let's go ahead and turn on our comments.
Well, let's see. I don't know if we're actually, here we go. This is a live stream. Let's turn on our comments. We can see. So if you have any comments for us. So to that end, like I said, I woke up this morning and had just a little something to eat. Here's my coffee. I'm still not really awake, but I wrote a little something this morning, and I don't know that I can get through it without laughing, because it was making me laugh, but I'll try. And of course, I don't really know it that well because I just wrote it. So I'll just tell you before we play it what happened. You never know what's coming out. You never know. And I was thinking about, that this is like one of those times. I was thinking about how the world's all in distress, and I was thinking this is like a time when John Lennon would be writing like.
You mean Julian Lennon?
No, not Julian. His dad, John, was way famous. He was in the Beatles. The Beatles, you know the Beatles. Remember the Beatles?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so John Lennon. But John Lennon, I figured John Lennon would be writing a piece. And like, so I started writing this little thing that was like, let's see, real 60s, you know? It's a total vocal piece. And so I was writing this piece, and like, okay, and I got about that far, and I'm like, I don't know, like that. So I just reset, and I did something else, and I had done this. I went. I'm like, okay, now it's the Bee Gees. So I'm like, either way, I'm in the 60s or the 70s.
You can do a mix-up one way or the other.
Okay, well, so this was what I thought. So I was trying to figure out, am I going to do like this little jazzy Bee Gees thing? Or am I going to do my, with all these dominant sevenths? And I was thinking about it, and I'm like, actually, you know what? I'm just going to push them together. I don't know if that would even work. Can you even just make, like, can you just put them together? Because I'm not going to think about it. I got shit to do. But I was going to do one composition a day, so I'm just going to push those two things together, and we're going to have whatever we have. And I love you so much, but you have to leave because I can't play with you sitting on the bench. So go play Xbox. Yeah, I know. Well, go play Xbox. All right. So here, I'm going to put up my keyboard too, just because that way you don't miss a second of the brilliance. By the way, not only do I not know I'm going to be able to get through this piece without laughing, I don't know that I know it because I just wrote it. That being said, after, decades and decades of doing this, you will still hear on display, because I can't not do it anymore, you will hear some sort of structure on display. And you will hear, the pattern cementing and pattern breaking. I always do that. There'll be things you'll know exactly what's coming, and then there'll be just a thing where you didn't know it was coming. Because that's the essence of it, and I never don't do that. So also it's totally a vocal tune. The melody is like one of those things where you can tell it was supposed to be sung. But we'll do it anyway. Anyway, without further ado, one composition a day until we're all dead. Number one, It's like this vaguely 70s thing.
Speaking of music,
Yes, Draco.
I have an enemy bot in this game whose name is Song.
Oh, yeah? All right, here we go. So, what am I doing? Oh, yeah, so this piece, putting this together. Here we go. Oh, wait, how's it go? Oh, wait. I gotta stop laughing. That was a Layla chord. I totally stole that. I love that Layla chord. John Lennon. It's like a magic trick. I didn't know how to get back to A flat, so I just did it. Always twice through the chorus. Layla. So there you go.
I don't get why that's funny.
It's funny because it's like a parody of a type of music. It's like elevator music. Like it's so on the nose. It's just on the nose. Also a bit of 80s sitcom in there. Yeah, probably. So there you go. That's today's. I mean, I can't be on the air all day. We got shit to do. But you should do the same. Write whatever. And if it's something like that where you don't know why it's there, and you will not do anything with it, get it out, because you never know. Somebody might say, "Oh, we need something exactly like that," and then you've done it. I have no objectivity on it. I don't know if it works, but I can tell you that you know, good, good, just harmonically, right? Yeah. I hit that Layla chord. It'll always be the Layla chord to me. And I know I had to get to A flat, so that's the first probably surprise. Guaranteed first hearing, it's okay. But as soon as you justify a 5 getting it to a tonic, people will tend to roll with you. So in that little melody, obviously, lots of dominant 7s to get 2 other tonal centers. All dominant 7s. Now, like anything else, it's great if you can take a simple idea and restate it in a way that keeps it from moving. So just the fact that we're moving that tonal center around, although we're not technically doing it, but every time things feels like a modulation, it re-engages and lets audiences know that there's more to that story. All the chromatic motion is also real predictable. That's just once you set up a pattern, people will lock onto it and they'll look for it. So the melody itself can actually, no matter what it is, you can actually sustain more interest than if you didn't have those modulations, than if you didn't have those, just if you weren't moving to other chords. If you didn't have a restatement of it in A flat and then D flat and then G flat, which is what it is, the burden would be much harder to keep it interesting if it had just been whatever it was and went back to 5 and then just did it again. It would just be harder to stay. So I bought myself some time just through all that stuff. And it had obviously, basically, right? It basically had your A section and your B section. This was a little trick, I had to get back to C. And I was not set up for it. That's a real 80s, 70s kind of thing. Brute force that set me back up for it. And now, on the second time, because I had already gotten people, that first time through that, I had done this Layla chord, and then I felt like I had to go. Well, your audience is with you on the journey and you're training them how the song goes. So on that second time, I didn't need to go that far. I could just brute force it back to A flat, because now it's familiar territory now. So I don't have to ease people into it the same way. That first time through, got to really handhold them a little bit. But the second time, let's push through it. And then at some point, whatever it is, you have to remember that people kind of want to go with you. They assume if you put a record out or if you put a song out, they assume that you meant it and you knew what you were doing. So they have like they kind of want to go with it. How could we have a dislike already? That's just, they don't like me. There's something, there's just, I think it is so funny. Dislikes crack me up. I don't get many of them, so they always crack me up because I'm like, what does that even mean? I don't like it. Who gives a shit? I don't understand. Anyway. Me. It's just a weird, do you feel better on I've never given a dislike to any videos. I don't think I've ever given a like. Yeah, it's a dislike because Draco's not on screen. That's probably, you know what? I was going to go with that. It's just, give Draco his own show. It just cracks me up. I don't know what it says. I don't like you. You don't even know me. Anyway, whatever.
You probably do.
Anyway, so like I said, I just shoehorned those two ideas together. Does it work? I don't know. I don't know. Did it work? How was that song? Is it
know,
transportable?
I'm just
Can you
looking
sing any of it? If later you find yourself going, if you find yourself singing that later, then it's transportable.
2 more.
What's that? You got 2 more likes? Oh, those are likes. Those are nice. What are these likes? I just want to talk to the people who give me dislikes. I just want to say, so what was it? You know, I hated your music. I hated it. Okay. Jesus. You know, or I don't like your opinions. I don't like you. It's such a weird thing to reduce. We've reduced all our stuff to I like you, I don't like you. It's just, they don't have a button for, you know, I'm ambivalent about it. Which would be, that would be the killer, wouldn't it, for composers? Like I have no feelings about what you said. For any artist, that would be that should be the dislike. It's just, I don't care at all. It had no effect on me. That would crush us. We'd be like, oh. Somebody says, I've been thinking about that. I feel that people get away with a nonsensical structure, in their bad releases solely because they have the clout and people blame themselves for not feeling it. Well, yeah. You know, no, because structure is pretty, like I said, it's, look, on the simplest level, let me just show you. This is, let me just show you. If it doesn't matter who you are, if you do this, okay, just listen. Guarantee you on that last chord, something in your perception relaxed or changed or breathed or refocused. All the chaotic, it's the essence of drama in music. All this shit, you cannot find a pattern to it. You cannot lock onto it. Dude, we can hear that. And just anything for you to lock onto, it's like, oh, okay, all right, okay, I understand something. It's amazing how powerful and primal that thing is. So it's just being aware of how close you are. I mean, there's nothing wrong with a piece of music that goes, there's nothing wrong with it. You just have to realize that right now you're in liability territory. Right now you are in very, very, very close danger of losing your entire audience because it's like, okay, and what the fuck are you talking about? Similarly, if you have... Okay. You're on the exact same liability tangent, vector, but for the other reason. Like, we so get it that, like, what? So you're just always going back and forth between those two extremes and balancing it out. So, you know, and it manifests itself tons of ways. Any contrasting stuff manifests itself that way. We generally talk about dissonance and consonance because it's just, you know, versus, you know, it's some combination of that, and how out you go, kind of, it's almost like they have to mirror each other, the negative versus the positive. You go -4 down, you're really well to go -4 up, you know. In your Christmas live stream, you said you thought there was no way Williams wrote the Skywalker score. I mean, at least what I heard of it, it was so amateurish and clumsy. I don't think he could do it if he tried. Like, it's like I don't think you could do it. He would have to have had completely stroked out, you know. And they're putting a pen, Mr. Williams, and they're just across the page. Otherwise, I can't. Like I said, did he stroke out? Because otherwise, literally, you couldn't forget that much about music. I don't even know. Anyway, did you see the recent behind-the-scenes vids? No, I didn't see. What was wrong with that score? Am I misquoting you? I don't know. No, I don't know. Something was wrong. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. I heard it. I heard it, and there was like this one thing in particular. It was like there was these trying to put these themes together, And it was like you would do it like devoid of any idea how you would put themes together. It was devoid of an understanding of how you would even modulate from one movement to another. Like it was absent. There's just, I refuse. I mean, I'm sure he did plenty of it or whatever, but it was like stroked out. It was so, there's no way. I don't know, man. Anyway. Talking about Williams, but also, you know my feeling about Johnny. Johnny practically taught me how to write, and I feel like the man has said more than a fuck enough. Leave the man alone. Let him go play golf. What does he have to do? Write more music? Like, what the fuck? Like, isn't it enough that he gave us Raiders and Superman and Star Wars and Schindler's List and E.T. and Jaws? Leave the fucking man alone. Like, anyway, it was like, and it just felt like the most generic, phoned in. It's like somebody dialed his oxygen bank. I don't know what the hell. There was a couple of moments, just a couple of moments where I was like, okay, there's something in it. Some of the tender, like there was just a thing. But I was like, bullshit. Bullshit. No way. Anyway, whatever. I mean, there's just some things when there's just some things that you learn. You do get better, if you work on this shit every day for decades, you do get better. It really does happen. And there does come a point at which, there's like a minimum level. I mean, it's not rocket science, and you don't have to be a fucking genius Mozart to get to. There is a level, like a working, functioning skill set below which work won't drop. And this would be like that didn't even happen. It was like a sub-intern guy, the guy who's normally getting coffee had to go write music. It was real crazy, but whatever. So anyway, that was my piece. You can go back and listen to it. I don't know what it was, but that's it. And it doesn't have to be anything. Will any of this stuff will become anything? Probably not. No, I don't count on it. I don't know why. Well, it was because I was thinking John Lennon. That's why. Because it's where it all started. That's where it started. But then I didn't like that idea. And so then I was doing Bee Gees. And I didn't like that idea either, so I put them together. That's how I felt about one of the Avengers, one of them. Oh, I thought someone was doing an impression of Silvestri, but it ended up being Silvestri. Yeah. Well, if you are one of those guys, and like I said, it's pretentious as this is to say, this is why I always say I don't know, it's not a Star Wars movie, and why I wouldn't want to do a Star Wars movie, because it's not a Star Wars movie, you know what I mean? Alan Silvestri, his skill set and his chops are wasted unless you set up an environment for him to do his best work. Same with John Williams. And if you don't have really great dramatic, clear structure, especially traditional 2,000-year-old three-act dramatic structure, and you don't have a locked picture for him to weave and connect and blend and flow and make one moment, if you don't have that, then you just haven't set the most basic foundations up for them to do their best work. And then on top of that, if the music that they're listening to in the temp track and the one that the director really wants, has nothing in common with that structure and has nothing in common with their thematic or motivic development, that's a really unfortunate place to be in. It's going to be a platypus. It's going to be a half-assed platypus where you're writing in a vacuum and you're like, oh, this, is this, you know what I mean? Like it's not even fair to judge. It's not fair to judge, in my opinion, composers who were working in an entirely different type of movie. It's not the same kinds of movies. They're not made the same way. They're not structured the same way. None of the things that normally would be considered absolute must-haves for a composers are anywhere near the process. And to go, well, geez, that score isn't like Back to the Future. The film isn't like Back to the Future. It's not structured like it. It's not the actual mechanics of making the movie have almost nothing in common with it. Yeah, give him that. He can do it. Give them a thing, well, yeah, the scenes are all out of order. We're still working, the CG hasn't come in. It's a lot of this, and yeah, we're music editing it, all that, and we're blah, blah, blah. Okay, then you're just writing stuff in a vacuum and and plus also here's Pirates of the Caribbean has been tempted on half of it or whatever it was. I mean, you know what I mean? That's fucked up. So, anyway, I love the music. Oh yeah, well, everybody loves the music. The music of Alan Silvestri, which means, again, which you can't separate it. The music from the film that they're working on and the era they're working on. You can't do, Hans Zimmer himself said to me in his office that he thinks modern films reject themes. He said that verbatim. He said that to me. I was going to argue him with it at the point, but I'm like, I'm not going to argue with Hans Zimmer the very first time I'm ever in his fucking office. So I didn't. But I was going to be like, well, first of all, nobody who's writing the music can really do that, but whatever. Mike was my shortest deadline ever. Somebody just asked me this. Oh, yeah, it was this NASA museum. There's a museum exhibit for NASA. And it was like, it's on my YouTube somewhere. It was called A Human Adventure, and it had narration. I think the one that's on the YouTube channel has no narration on it, but it's all underneath narration. People talking about the history of NASA and space exploration and stuff. And I don't remember how many minutes it was, but it was something like 15 minutes or 20 minutes in 21 hours. That's the fastest I ever did do. I played it right into the workstation, and it was literally just improv, like just anything. I would just do something. Done. Next thing. Like I would just like move on. That's horns. Oh no, it'll be I'll do strings, quick strings, and no, moving on. Like it was insane. It's on here somewhere.
Still have one dislike.
Only one. Just said one person just sitting there. You know what? I want to know is if they're still watching. And they're like, I wish I could take that back. Can you take back likes? Is that a thing you can do?
Yeah, you can.
Oh, okay.
Do it.
I find Schindler's List very cheesy. Williams is fantastic. Difference between him and Stravinsky is like most modern composers and Williams. Okay, I got you. Duel of the Fates is cringe, out of tune. Well, yeah, okay. Schindler's List, I don't know. I mean, it's a great little melody. I think just think about if you're making the film and all the stuff that's on the film, like all that's on it. How would you even be able to make that film? I think it's so hard to do stuff you're that close to. Like, how do you make a film that you couldn't possibly be closer to? You know what I mean? That makes it real hard. Ideally, that's actually how you make a movie. But I just like Steven Spielberg is going to make the ultimate Jews destroyed by Nazis movie. The ultimate oh fuck, I can't imagine. How does anybody in that movie, how anybody got through it without it all just being a folded on itself mess is so remarkable. So I have to give him a pass on that. Your NASA music is some of the best stuff you've written. No, thanks. Well, you know what? That limitations are good for creatives. You have no time. Go. At least you're going to get to your first instincts. Hope all is well in L.A. I'm stuck in Chicago with family. Not sure if I want to head back yet. Well, no, don't. I saw someone ask this yesterday, but would love to hear your opinion on Bergeson's American Dream. I mean, I haven't heard it. He's got a thing in his writing. He's got a thing. I watched today your first Unleashed. You're inspiring me a lot. When's your next one? It's usually Christmas because boys, girls, it takes out of me.
Just every time you do an Unleashed at Christmas, you're just telling all those little kids that they
Horner did Aliens in 1 week. Well,
Did you hear that?
No, what'd you say?
I said the reason why you do Unleashed on Christmas is because you're just trying to tell all those little kids that they suck at.
I don't tell them they suck at Christmas. I'm not doing it to tell people they suck at Christmas. I do it at Christmas because people are on vacation. And it's a gift to have somebody listen to your music and tell you suck. Oh, wait, actually, maybe you're right. Anyway, yeah, it's the most effective time to kick somebody's dick in. Oh, you Christmas, everything's happy? Well, watch this. Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, Horner may have done Aliens in 1 week. I don't know. That's but that's. I've said before that a good number of my paychecks have come because I was faster or brought in an emergency. I've done quite a bit of ghostwriting in my career. And in certain circumstances, everybody knows how that works. You save the day and nobody ever knows about it, but you're paid to live with it. That's how that goes. And in those cases, that's kind of, in fact, I actually had to get out of that because there was just a thing where I was only getting called when everything was a fucking 11th hour, everything's on fire, emergency. And I was like, well, Mike can do it, So yeah, I can do it, but, I don't want to do it. It's brutal. But being fast is a good skill, but being good is better. It looks like Santa acts like a grin. That's great. I love you guys too. Just no good deed, I guess. How do you feel listening to your old stuff? How do I feel listening to my new stuff? I don't listen to my own stuff. I hate everything that I do. I've said before, there's a very, very short window. It's like about 20 minutes long, after which I go, okay, yeah, there you go. After that, it's like, it has to be taken away from me. It has to be delivered. I deliver, and because I will take it all back. No. That was just, okay, now I know how to do it. I'm just not one of those people. I've never gone to see any of the movies that I've scored, other than, like, the last time I see any project that I work on is at the mix. Just, is everything cool? Are we done? Good. I've never seen my stuff. I don't listen to my stuff. I never heard my own stuff on the radio. All I ever did was wait for the faxes to see what the spins were like. I just don't look at my own stuff. It's not where it's, I've said this before, my sense of self, my sense of pride, is input-based, not output-based. It's not what it finally becomes or what it is, because that can be taken away from us. You can make a really nice model, and then you can take it outside, and a car can jump the curb and destroy it, and it was all taken away from you. And if that's where all your pride was, it's been taken away from you. Or you can write a great piece of music, and then an executive can just shit all over it and destroy it. And make it into crap. In fact, that almost always happens. You get companies and corporations and committees on it, and they turn all your good stuff to crap. So since all that stuff is out of my control, that's never where my sense of accomplishment is. I know if I put my very best into it, no matter what becomes of it, I know that at the time that I delivered it, I laid everything on the line. That's all on the table. I couldn't work harder. I couldn't dig deeper. That's everything I've got. If I know that I put everything that I could into it, that input, then that's where I get my sense of accomplishment. So what becomes of it is both out of my control and then out of my consideration. I don't know what's going to become of it. Sometimes you do something that's great and people love it. Sometimes you think you do something that's shit and people love it. That's the world. I can't control that. What I can control is, did I fucking bring it? All my love, all my power, did I bring it all? Because I'll know if I did. And if I can look in the mirror and just go, look, well, that's it. That's your best. So if you suck, it's not for lack of trying. Then I'm okay. Then I'm square with the house. And then I feel like I've made the most out of this one day that I am not going to get back again. It's it. That was it. This was my day. It'll never happen again. Did I bring it? Did I live it all the way? Did I fucking do it? Yeah. All right. Then you're square with the house. It's good. So, Draco's online. Hey, buddy. He's in the other room. Technology. Hi, buddy. So how do you get back in the saddle for a new job or practice? Well, I mean, for me, music started, it wasn't like a thing I wanted to do it, right? I wanted to do it. It fills a hole. It's not hard for me to get back in the saddle. It's if anything, it's hard to get away from it. You know what I mean? But also, like I said yesterday, as we were talking about all sorts of stuff, your life experience informs your music, and if you are challenging yourself and your beliefs, and you're thinking new thoughts, and you're having new experiences, and you spend some time in the reflexive, philosophical world of consideration, you have lots of wells to draw from, inspiration-wise, and that's why I think the downtime between jobs is more important than the job time. The job time, you're doing it, you got to work it. But the time between your job is where you live your life and try new experiments and have new experiences, which you then have so that you can bring them to the next job. You know what I mean? Here's a question. How do you know that you're good enough? As in, my music is good enough to do real work now. I mean, this is, to me, where setting your own internal... So, like, this is why I only listen to great music all the time. I listen to people that are quantifiably, qualitatively better than I am. People in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and earlier, where just the level, the minimum level of writing is just jaw-dropping. And I do that because then it helps me keep my level up. You know what I mean? Like, I want to surround myself. You get like the people you're with. So I try to surround myself with geniuses and great people so that my own bar stays there. I want my bar. I want to be nervous all the time because it makes me work harder. So, you know, if you've set, it's like that thing, shoot for the moon. If you don't make it, you still hit the sky or whatever. It's sort of the same thing. I know that if generally I keep my bar like that and I keep looking at myself against this stuff, then that minimum level that I'm hitting is probably going to be higher than plenty of people who aren't doing that all the time. But you can also just measure it. Are people buying your product? Are you getting a lot of mostly feedback, or is the only positive feedback you're getting from your friends? You know, when I write motifs and themes, I can tell if people are picking it up in their lives, if it's transportable, if they're humming it and singing it without meaning to. That lets me know. You know, I was 20 when I got my first record deal, and it was very, very clear right away whether or not, because I either got a record deal or I didn't. And then it either got spins or it didn't. And it either went up the chart or it went down the chart. And then people either wanted me to headline a concert or they did not. There was either money waiting for it or there was not. It was very, very, very clear. And this is day before internet. So the feedback wasn't like you couldn't micromanage it. It would be 6 months or a year before, you know, so you had to learn to develop an internal sense of, yeah, people are going to like this, because you couldn't just, do you mind, would you take a 2-second survey after you're done listening to this piece and let me know, do you prefer more drums or less, you know, like all this bullshit where people think they can just formulaically derive what a success is, you know? If you got to ask people, ultimately, then you don't know what you're doing. That's, you know. It's like if you're with your girlfriend in bed or your boyfriend and you're going, better like this? Do you like this? Okay, what about like the better like this? Okay, well, let me try this. How's this? Like, so you don't fucking know. You just want me to tell you how to do it? Like, I'm going to get a guy in here who knows what he's doing. See what I'm saying? Same sort of thing. Probably been asked this a lot, but how do you overcome laziness when you don't feel it and you're also out of ideas? Well, you know, I have a thing on how to write when you don't feel it, but the way you overcome laziness is the same way you overcome pretty much any one of our shortcomings that we have as people, is you pretend you don't have them and act like you don't. You just do it. Just let the actions dictate the emotional. We tend to go it backwards. We tend to think that an action has to spring from our feelings about it, from our philosophy about it, you know, that it's, you know, that it has to be a real expression, but it's almost always the other way. You know what I mean? I'm not disciplined enough to go to the gym every day. Okay, so if you were a person who was disciplined, what would you do? Well, I'd go to the gym every day. Okay, so try this. Just go to the gym every day. Pretend you're that person. It's not you. It's fake. You don't mean it. It's not real. It's not authentic. You're a phony, but go to the gym every day. And usually what happens is it works the other way, and then you end up, I guess I'm disciplined. I'd go to the gym every day. Right, exactly. So you just do it. Don't think about it so much. Just do it. I'm too lazy. I just don't do it every day. Well, fucking do it. Do it anyway. But there's a problem. I'm too lazy. You know, you're still talking about it. Just go do it. While you're talking about it, go do it. Fucking go do it. Do it. Actions speak. We are what we do. Go do it. Just do it. And then let the rest of it. Yeah, I used to think I was lazy, but I don't act lazy. Then you're not Then you're not lazy. Put some accountability for you to finish your work and you're forced to write. Yeah, I mean, whatever, you know, like, well, that's why I'm doing one composition a day, which you should do. Why wouldn't you? You know, like, it could be anything. Doesn't matter. It's always easier to fix something than to create something. So if you write some total shit and you're like, okay, well, that was shit, but okay, but at least it's out. Now I'm looking at it. Well, I can push this over here and this could be more like this. All right, now you're writing. There you go. Yeah, so anyway, so there was my piece. You always can go back. I mean, I can't be on air all day. We have shit to do. Right? Don't we have shit to do, Draco? What do we have to do? Shit, yeah. Eric Korngold is one of my favorite old school composers. I mean, so great. The level of chops, man. That's why I listen to that stuff all day long, all those old TV scores. The shittiest thrown away score for like a Twilight Zone episode or something is great. All those old Star Trek episodes, Gunsmoke, all these like great old shows. They're all masterclasses, you know. And you will not infrequently see Jerry Goldsmith. Holy shit, young Jerry Goldsmith. He could write even then. Yeah, those things are always good. So, I mean, you know, whether you are voluntarily or involuntarily quarantining, why are you not writing? Write something. And write it at the piano. It's a good time as any to start working out that muscle. Step away from the... It's funny how that's become increasingly like the only thing I want to say now. Is just, I don't want to hear any more fake samples. Get away from your workstation. Let me hear it on the piano. Because if it's real, it works on the piano. It does. I don't care what it is. The Rite of Spring works on the piano. You can play the fucking planets on the piano. Yeah, it doesn't have all the parts, but you can totally get the essence of the part. So you can do it all piano. It's how it was written anyway. So get away from all the sounds. Play at the piano. Let's hear what you really got. More importantly, you'll hear what you really got. Because if you end up finding yourself having to explain the joke, it ain't funny. You know? So if you're like, well... But you have to understand, then normally, but then it would be like, if you have to explain why that would be cool after 5 minutes of that, then it's not cool. You know? All right. Yeah, this is a good time. Hey, Mike, have you ever read the book Torn Music, Rejected Film Scores? No, I have not. Sadly, I've not had time to read that. I get a lot of time for reading. But, you know, boy, that's gotta... I mean, I know there's some... I have the score. I have the score, Jerry Goldsmith's rejected score to Alien Nation. Is it Alien Nation? I think it's Alien Nation. And it's pretty terrible. Like, he was just going nuts with his synthesizers, and I sort of feel like, nah, I think maybe everybody was right. But that's going to happen. It's just that it also seems to me that a lot of things haven't happened in order for that to happen. Like, it can't be the right gig from the beginning, because how could you not know? How could you be completely off target with the director, such that they come in and like, no, none of this, you know? Certainly, no director I've ever worked for. I mean, it's such an intimate set of conversations, and it's like there's no way it could go wrong. But whatever. Or you'd know it right and think, like, yeah, we're not. If the guy goes, well, I'm thinking something like this, kind of like this, and you're like, I hate all that, and no. Then you should just go, you know what? Yeah, well, I hope that is good advice. Because and you're right. Sometimes just take somebody else just to say it. I mean, I don't think I don't say anything. I don't teach anything in my master classes that I think is revolutionary. It's hopefully it's just packaged in a way that's more efficient and full of less bullshit than other ways, so you can make use of it faster and get to the like. That's always what I'm after. Is not like, oh, I've thought of all new things. No, it's been the same shit for hundreds of years. No. I'm just trying to. Here's how you really work it. Here's how you use it. Here's how you can get better with it. Here's what's actually going on behind the, knowledge is power. But what's the next class? The next master class I said I'd do. I think we're going to do Basil Polidorus, just because that's actually been requested a lot, and it's just an excuse for me to listen to RoboCop again. I can't tell you about that. Speaking of Jerry Goldsmith, his score to the 1984 Supergirl was used in a behind-the-scenes feature for 1995 20th Century Studios production of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. All right. Oh, yeah, Starship Troopers, right. When's the next sale? You mean after the one that's going on right now? I didn't even put an end date on this one, because I figured, the way things are going, there won't be anybody left anyway, so why? It's just permanent sale. It's until the end. We're all dead anyway. So, Conan, yeah. Yeah, no, you can get a class for $18 right now. So, that's why you buy 10. Would I recommend a self-teaching piano course? No, I can't recommend one. No, I mean, I really can't. I mean, I talked about it yesterday. We started the stream just talking about how I'm teaching Draco piano, and everything was going fine until somebody asked me how I felt about the entire virus thing, and then everybody regretted it. But still, until then, it was really good. It was really nice discussion on like how I'm teaching him piano. He was here and everything, but but other than that, same thing. I'm teaching him piano the way I wish I'd been taught, the way I had been taught piano, which was not any fun. And I don't know how you could have, it was crazy. I wanted to write film music when I was 5. I asked my mother very specifically. The words were, I want to write music for movies. That's the literal words that came out of my mouth. Nobody wanted to take piano more than me. We happened to live a few blocks from a conservatory, and studying piano there was fucking miserable, and I hated it. How do you do that to a kid? So I just teach him the way, it's like the way I wish I'd learned. The whole stream was derailed. I don't know. Some people thought it was, whatever. It depends. If you like it, if you agree, I like that. It's like when people watch TV, I like to see he knows what he's talking about because you agree with everything the person's saying. So, that person's got a good head on their shoulders. I'm going to watch his show every day. Oh, he's making a lot of sense, And then this other person, idiots, irresponsible idiots. Oh, they should be taken off the air and shot. I don't like what they say. It's like we just have those two. They just have those two. Dislike. Yeah, I know that's you, and that's a thumbs down to things I don't agree. If anything, I can't. I can't. We all have to decide. I think which adjectives we want to be described with. When we're dead, and I guess every artist wants to have, somebody. Well, they were still really talented, To me, like a fearless nonconformist, iconoclastic troublemaker. Those all sound so good to me. Just not a team player. That's how I want it. Not a team player, but if he's on your team, you'll probably win. That would be, that's my epitaph. Yes, strongly opinionated. Which is all a veiled way of just saying, honest. Well, you're going to know where you stand with him. You're going to know where he stands. You're going to know what you're dealing with. To me, that all sounds good. Like, even if a guy is like, if it's pure, if it really comes from a place where the person means it and believes it and is consistent about it, I would much sooner listen to that person than a person that I know knows how to just lie and manipulate and quaff and fabricate and manicure and say the right thing and do the right thing. I won a lot of awards for advertising. I'm very good at that. I know exactly what to say to make everybody happy and buy things. I know how to lie. I know how to lie and misrepresent and fake people out and I know how to manipulate them very, very well. I'm very good at that. Always have been. I can make anybody think pretty much anything. I got so disgusted by that whole thing that on some other part of me was just like, you know what? How about truth now? How about just truth? That's what it is. That's what it is. And if you're trying to be a good person, you have to field test yourself anyway. There was a movie I remember. It was called Crazy People. Dudley Moore, and it's about Dudley Moore who basically snaps as an advertising agent, and he can't take it anymore, and he just starts telling the truth in ads, and it's a really great movie, and the ads go through the roof, all the products, because he's just like because they just tell the truth for the once. That was a good score too. How did that go? Let's see. It's a really good score. I don't remember. Anyway, but it was a good movie. So yeah, I'm making an app. What kind of an app? So the app's called Mic Drop. It's just the problem with all social media is it's all algorithm based and it's all agenda based. And as a person, who rarely parrots Pavlovian the narratives on the glowing rectangle, I'm exactly the kind of person that is shadow banned and buried in algorithms. And just the idea of that is bullshit to me. And I get it. You're on their platform, so you can you can be censored and turned down. Like YouTube's a total bullshit thing. I've never monetized my channel ever. I've never once said subscribe or like. I don't monetize it because it's a rat bastard scenario. Like we don't get any say in the negotiation. They could turn our stuff on and off. They could pay us or not pay us. They could change the rate. You have no idea or accountability or transparency in where it shows up in the search algorithms or any of that stuff. That's bullshit. I would never negotiate that deal for myself, so I'm not putting any energy in it. It's like it's free, and I don't expect it to be here tomorrow. But my app is a place where all the stuff, my master classes, the rants that people. Rants and thoughts and opinions and all the other kind of work that I do and stuff on homeschooling and my domestic violence work and my the charity foundation that I run, like just it's all the stuff that I do in an app. That's where I'll be. I'll be there. And you can subscribe to as many of the things as you want to or not. You don't want to hear about my fucking opinions. Like, you can turn that off. But if he has something about music, if it's a master class or it's an opportunity for me to just have little hints. Because these things go on all day. The fucking brain carnival is going all day long. So it came from a place where I just thought, man, if I just had it right here and I could just go, oh, by the way, if you're ever in C major and you're trying to go to, like, if there was just a place where I could just do that and then post, there would be a shit ton of stuff out there. So the app is being created to do that. And then you can just choose which things you get to and how often you can turn all notifications off very, very easily because I fucking hate that. And so it's just like, that's what it's for. And this way, fuck YouTube and fuck Instagram and fuck Facebook. I haven't been on Facebook in years. Just fuck all that and fuck all those places that, because I'm not okay with people telling me what to do. It's my fucking, like, I'm not so, and I get it. It's not my platform. You built the infrastructure. I guess you get to turn off all the people you want to turn off, but I'm just not with that. I don't like being treated like that, so fuck you. And then in the end, people who have the app and people who subscribe to the app, that's the only people who really give a shit about it anyway, because they value it. And then now we're all, I know exactly who my audience is because they're the ones who have the fucking app. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to, and if they like it and they think it's good, they'll tell somebody. And if they're friends and they're all like, we're all, then it'll all take care of itself. So, but that's what it is. It's just, because I just do a lot of stuff across a lot of different disciplines. I've never had a chance to do a whole series of masterclass on all the visual effects work that I've done and do every day. And there's been a lot of projects, like I wish I'd had a video dial while I was a project manager on one of the attractions at the Avatar theme park in Disney World. And I just wished if I'd had that thing, a lot of really interesting things about what goes on with a giant, huge corporation like Disney, where all these divisions are working together, on a $1 billion project, and Jim Cameron is involved. Like, there's just a lot of things so many dynamics about working and about satisfying an aesthetic or understanding an aesthetic or being trusted with an aesthetic. That's usually, in those contexts, I'm usually brought in as the guy who, at least my position is usually, like in that project, it's like, okay, Michael say if this is Avatar or not, even though you'd think James Cameron would, because James is too busy. So there's certain people at certain lines where they go, okay, if it looks like this, is that Avatar? No, it needs to be, you have to have more rivets on it, or no, it would have these kinds of angles. That's a thing I do. I'm sort of like an aesthetic policeman for brands where they're spinning off product, and and there just needs to be some, like, I don't even know that's what I call it. It's like an aesthetic policeman. I do a lot of that sort of thing. Started on Star Wars stuff. Is this Star Wars? No, that's prequel Star Wars. If you want OT, it would have to be this. Like, that's that kind of thing. But there's just so many things that I've done that they're gone, like tears and rain, and they're useful no matter what kind of creative discipline that you're in. There's useful stuff for negotiating your price or protecting your value or working with really complex dynamics inside of corporate structures or figuring out how to balance your time, and like how do you and there's so much stuff that's been lost forever. And at some point I just thought, well, if I had an app, if it was like literally just for me, I could just go, oh, and here's another thing. But then a lot of useful shit would get out there, and that's what I do. Try to put as much useful, good stuff into the world as I can. That's my function. That's what I was designed for. So the app will just help me do that a little bit more effectively. I was watching the other day how high schools were back in the 80s and 90s in comparison to schools. And it's not, yeah, they're all immersed in their phones, not even their minds. No, I know. It's, Like I was thinking about this the other day. Are kids allowed to dress up as anything for Halloween? How can there even be Halloween anymore? Because it doesn't some like just detestably weak snowflake get triggered at anything? Can't anything? I don't know. Forget it. Whatever. Speaking of Disney. I get the fact that a platform has the right to censor as much as they want. What's fucked is that private companies were allowed to monopolize all the talking spaces. Yeah, no, the narrative is shaped. All narratives are shaped, and that's why I mean, it's like we all know that. We all know the Google results. That's what they want you to think. You can't. That's why you have to go and get multiple points of input because the main ones are all hopelessly corrupt. And you only have to be on the other side of it to any degree to know that. And just generally speaking, my first reaction when I get a piece of information is, really? I'm gonna check on that. And that's not good. Your job is to parrot what you just heard. So I'm not algorithm friendly. Speaking of Disney, I watched the Como 4 weekend news at 11 p.m. last night and learned about Virtual Disney World. I didn't know about that. In fact, I heard about Disney and Universal attractions available on a YouTube channel. Yeah, it's... I've got this friend who's like, they're just fucking testing us. This is a fucking experiment to just see whether or not they can turn the thing and just, turn the world off, get us to all stay home. Like for some reason. I've heard a bunch of conspiracy theories. But it's like, well, if... It sure looks like a lot of stuff. I don't know what it... But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, being with each other is a fundamental... We are social animals. You can't actually all just stay home. Mike, I recently watched AI, Artificial Intelligence, and John Williams' score for it was fantastic. I really liked it. It's really different. I really did like that score, actually. Nice to finally catch you live. Well, you're nice to be caught. Go back and you can hear today's composition, which was this 70s, 60s, John Lennon meets the Bee Gees plus Billy Joel thing. They're thinking about releasing prisoners in my home country. They've done that here. They've opened up the jails and they're not arresting people here in Los Angeles. They open it up because it's not fair for 3 people to be in a cell together, what with COVID going around. They've just opening up the jails. That's a real thing. And they've announced that they're really not doing arrests. So you can imagine that there are places that hasn't gone well. You don't hear about them on the news, but if you have a police scanner, you hear them. Anyway, that's a real thing that's happened. What do I think about VR? Music in VR? Oh, I don't know. VR all gives me a headache. Dude, I said that same shit. I think that there's some experiment going on. I mean, I don't know. Whatever. We'll all find out at some point. But, yeah. Do I have guns? So I have routine, regular access to guns, would be the way to say that. For the last year, I've been gearing up to shoot competitively. IDPA is actually what I want to shoot, for those who know. For the last year, 3 weeks a month, a lot. I shoot an AHK VP9, a Beretta 92 FS, and a SIG P226 Mark 25. They're all 9 millimeters. My home base is about to transfer to Florida. I'm now in Florida. My company with my partner is based outside of Orlando, and I'm now there more than I'm in Los Angeles. So I'm going to become a state of Florida. And as soon as that's the case, then I'll get my concealed carry and And the weapons that I've been using will actually be transferred to me personally. My buddy had bought them, and I've just been fortunate enough to use them. And like in California, it's just not gun friendly, and all the versions of those guns are either legal or they've been nerfed. So, so the answer is yes, yeah, my little boy has shot a Walther P22. Is it the P22Q? Yeah, P22Q. This is a little 22. He's learning that skill well. And my girl shoots a Kimber Micro 9 Bel Air, which is a very pretty little gun. It looks like a Chevy Bel Air. It's got this nice teal blue handle on it. Anyway, so yeah. But shooting competitively is something I've wanted to do a long time, just because if you can do something, try to be really good at it, and it's a lot of fun. So yeah, short answer to that. Do I like Stargate? You mean like the movie or whatever? Or what? I didn't see a show. The like John Wick training style. Yeah, IDPA is from a competitive shooting standpoint, it's really more like a real world defensive type situation. That's why you generally have to use stock guns. Like they're not all tricked out, and it's not. It's like, okay, here's something that simulates kind of what you'd be in a defensive situation. Oddly enough, my particular interest in firearms and firearms training is not actually defense-based. I guess it would be great to have weapons in the house, but a lot of people, this is for self-defense. Somehow I have a hard time really picturing the scenario in which I'm in a shootout in my house. I guess I'd be covered. But it really isn't about that. It's really about, for me, it's a very unique mind, muscle, focus, and attention. It's very interesting to maintain focus. If you've never fired a weapon, when you first fire, especially the handgun that's right in front of your face, just the ballistic shock, it trips something in your monkey brain. It takes a little bit to just get used to, like, holy Christ, there's just this thing that you can feel it. People get a look in their eyes when they very first fire. I had it too, and it's just bam. There's just something goes off in the brain. And my buddy has this ridiculous gun. He's got the Smith & Wesson 500 performance setter with a 10.5-inch barrel. And it's this ridiculous cartoonish gun. And we put these 700 grain hard cast bullets in it. And it's just like this laughable, you start laughing like you can't, it's bam. It's just like, it's like, holy crap. I don't even, so there's just something about having to stay, especially if you're at any distance, it's such a tiny little correction is the difference between a grouping that's tight and one that's not. And I just really appreciate having to let the distractions of the moment and the focus and the calm in the midst of, this just ballistic, that to me is just an interesting challenge. It's a really primitive and interesting challenge to maintain that kind of focus and clarity and control amidst that level of distraction. And I suppose if you're going to have a weapon for self-defense, being able to be cool under pressure is probably really important, which is why I like the IDPA approach. And being cool under pressure has constituted 99% of my career. That's why I worked for so long, is because when there was deadlines that were impossible to meet and pressures, that's always been my briar patch. So it's just how I was. How I am. The more panic stuff the calmer I get. That's just how I'm wired. So firearms focus is like a really interesting manifestation of that to me. So there you go. Here in my country, they're not gun friendly too. I had the luck to be taught as a kid, but yeah. I mean, like I said, it's I don't know. Well, whatever. Boy, wait. Oh God, no, we can't talk about guns. No, stop. Wait. How do we end up there? That's gonna be a problem. But yeah. But I actually have, I mean, they're so simple, you know, it's just really interesting to me. You know, it's really interesting to me. You know, plus it's just also just, it is also just not lost on me that every single thing I have in my life, every freedom I have, the fact that I can even talk about anything that I want to, that we have all this internet, like literally every single thing, including my existence, was made possible by and only by the barrel of a gun. I can't pretend that's not true. Going back to when they got the redcoats out of here, if they hadn't gotten the redcoats out of here with guns, and my people wouldn't have come over, and if my people wouldn't come over, you know, and then it's just if the police have stopped bad guys who would have killed my relatives, and you know, for real, and you know, and then they killed Nazis. Who knows what they would have like? So there's some part of me does not inherently hate guns. I just don't hate them. I don't love them. They're just things. But they're interesting. But like I said, for me, it's about the challenge of, holy shit, you know, can I hit that tiny little 1-inch square 50 yards away? Well, there's a fucking bomb going off in my face. That's to me is a really interesting challenge. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, yeah, don't know. We're not going here. Let's not go there. I mean, you know me. I'll have it. You want to talk about guns? We can go there. But it's just how much people gonna fucking lose their fucking minds. So no, you know. See, I actually like talking about all that stuff. To me, if you know that a thing, an experience, is loaded with all that energy in it, like the energy of controversy. Like, okay, well then let's talk about that. Like everybody knows there's like all this fucking raw energy in there, just fucking simmering with power, but we're like, let's just go over here and talk about the weather. What the fuck? This is where we already just know where the shit is. Let's go in there. And so that to me is like, that's what I'd much rather spend my time in all of the, so let's have a religious guns Donald Trump conversation, you know? And if people could fucking have it, that would be, that was so awesome to me. But people can't have it. They just get all fucking spun out. And they just can't do it. They just intellectually can't do it. They just get all derailed in righteousness and no, the point of this conversation is to end it. So you're evil, I'm good, we're done. I don't want to be in this conversation. I want to be out of this conversation. I want this to stop. Whereas I want to go but we just admitted that's where all the interesting stuff. So that's why. But whatever, you know. Yeah, I mean, but also, too, I think some of that is about whether or not whether you are generally in a secure and happy, well-adjusted, and intellectually curious person, you know, or whether or not you are generally afraid and want to stop thinking about stuff. Well, a lot of people, it's like, you know, they get a lot of comfort. Like if they watch Fox News all day and they just listen to those things, it's like there's a sense of comfort in this is how it is. It was yesterday, and it was like that tomorrow. And it's the same thing for other people, and they listen to CNN and the Rachel Maddow. Like, see, and she's right, and this is right, and this is the right thing. And everybody I know says that it's right, so it's right. So it's right, and I don't have to think about it. It's just I know it now. I know it. I know things. There's no questions about it. I think that's very comforting to a lot of people. Whereas to me,
you only still have one dislike.
Well, that's when they watch it back. They'll give it more. But I just think that I just think that we turn our backs on the most interesting stuff. Not you though. I'm teaching you to entertain the thoughts that you hate. That's where you should listen to the people that make you so mad you want to tear your teeth out. You should listen to them because they might make you want to tear your teeth out because there's something about it that you know is true and you don't want it to be. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like you should. Got to push through a little bit. That's like maybe the most important thing is to be able to, because if you stop learning, if you're not willing to rethink everything that you know, then you're starting to get old. You're not growing anymore. Uh-huh. You're starting to die. I was shooting bows and arrows at my buddies. Oh, at my buddy's first day. At my buddies. Oh, not at your friends, but at your play guys. Okay. Similar experience. Yeah. In fact, my buddies, boys shoot bows and arrows too.
You won't shoot bow and arrow at me, will you?
No, I won't. Yeah, I know you were worried.
Hashtag sign of relief.
Yeah, hashtag. I'm very liberal, but I still love you. Well, we're all in this together. If the aliens come down, there's no liberals. There's just Homo sapiens and invaders. So really, in the end, you just have to remember. But yeah. Got to be willing to hear the thing that you least want to hear. That's an extension of the thing we talk about in Unleashed. You're only as good as the harshest criticism you're willing to hear. That's a real acknowledgement of there that you don't want to hear it, that it's going to hurt you, that it probably contains the best stuff for you to hear. And you probably know that precisely because it's the thing you want to hear the least. So I think that's a muscle we always need to keep strong. I just saw a really fun, low-budget thriller horror movie that dealt with this theme of binary politics, The Hunt. Yeah, I thought it was a fun ride and pissed off both the right and the left. I recommend it. Yeah. You don't have to go to the movies to see people pissed off at each other right and left. Your son is really lucky to have a wise dad. Huh? You're very lucky. Told you.
Told me?
I told you. I told you you were lucky. You had such a great dad.
I've known that since 6 years before I was born.
That's existential of you. Hey, Casey Edwards. Nice to know you are here and well. You are here, right? You're not in Tennessee? Yeah, my track from today was at the beginning. We got that out of the way because we just had no idea where it was actually going to go. But anyway, and we'd love to stay on the air all day, but we can't. We have stuff to do. We have to go stand in line at the grocery store
and get some batteries. Mm-hmm.
There's supposedly a lot of dark stuff going on behind the scenes in Hollywood. Is there any truth to that? There's always been. What do you mean? Like now? Like versus the last 100 years where they use up children and discard them? Like.
Daddy?
Yes.
Could you do me a favor and watch that like sign? Just keep watching.
Are you gonna go hit the likes? So great. I don't know. Am I panic buying bourbon? I said this yesterday. I said a lot of things yesterday, all of which I regret. No, none of which I regret. But that it cracks me up that people reveal themselves in times like this. And West LA, especially California, is like that's the place where people are going to be like, that I eat all sustainable, organic, gluten-free, and BPA-free packaging. And like I said, at the grocery store, the fucking vegetables are completely stacked to the ceiling, and there's nobody in that part of the store. And the fucking frozen pizzas and French fries are wiped out, just wiped out. Like, yeah, when it really comes down to it, pizza, fries, and toilet paper. That's where your gluten-free crowd is. Oh yeah, I saw it. Thanks for the like, pal. That just makes me laugh. I don't know. So, but there are very few other ways to accurately describe Hollywood than hypocritical. What's that? And self-righteous. I did. I watched it. Went bing. Oh, two dislikes. There you go.
Wait a minute. What?
Yeah.
No. I didn't do that.
No, I know. Somebody else hates us. Hates us. So yeah. I know, buddy. No. Oh, it went away. Oh God.
Well,
It was you. It was you. You were the dislike, weren't you?
No, I wasn't.
Okay. All right.
I wasn't the dislike. Yes, for a second, but no. Oh, someone else did.
Oh, damn.
Dang it.
3. Oh, okay. Now it's okay. Now they're just doing it. Now it's a thing to do. You know what? That's how fucking bored we are. I'm gonna just drive them crazy. I hate you. Well, maybe I don't. Maybe I do.
Oh, we're back to 1.
We're safe. How can we not be safe? You know, we don't have a choice. But yeah, we have to go and stand in the grocery lines.
You don't want that?
I've been waiting to see just one person with a full hazmat suit on. I've been looking just one to be like, okay, that person is fucking nervous. That person is
3
concerned.
dislikes? Dang it.
This is why I never look, because you don't know. That one of those people could be mad because I was married to your mother. You don't know. That's how people are. No, it's true. I've gotten that before. Any master classes coming up? Well, so it looks like by consensus, it looks like we're talking about doing a Basil Polidorus master class, just because everybody seems to like him, and I've never done one. And we could talk about the music of it, but then it's also just an excuse for us to listen to RoboCop and Conan, apparently. So probably do one of those.
What does it look like?
What's that? Yeah, that's. Do you understand? That's going to wig everybody else out. They don't know it's not pointing at me.
It's over here,
Yeah,
guys. It's over here.
But you have to understand, kids with guns, people talk about people freaking out. In fact, put that thing away. I don't need that. Jesus Christ, that's the worst. That's just gonna watch the dislikes. 40, 50, 60. All right, anyway. I heard your music for Don't Blink. Oh yeah, that was it cool? That was interesting. We had full hazmat suits outside our house, or so we thought. Turns out it was just 2 beekeepers. Now we have 500 dead bees in our driveway. From COVID?
No.
Draco had a school. He's online schooling. He's homeschooled, and he did a online. Which is the one for where you pulled the gun out? Which?
It was a sun project.
Oh yeah, it was a project on the sun, and I don't know why. Just because he wanted to do it. Like in the beginning, he wanted to talk about the inside of the sun. So the very first thing he did was pull out his gun and blow off the top half of the sun to expose the inside. And I'm like, oh shit. Don't send that. We're going to get fucking DCFS at the house. But teacher really likes him, so she just didn't say anything about it. I just thought, you can't have a kid with a gun in a video with people in California? Are you out of your fucking mind? But just there you go.
She may not be in California.
Yeah, you're right. She might have, but I didn't think so, though.
She might be from Texas.
There's other indications. Yes, Draco learned about force perspective. Yeah. Dye his hair gray, and now he's Draco Malfoy. Well, Draco was not named for Harry Potter. Draco was named before there was a Harry Potter. What are you named after?
Constellation.
The Constellation. Which is so important in your opinion, programming techniques or orchestration? Well, that's a real loaded question, because the truth is, if you don't know how to orchestrate properly, whatever you do programming-wise, you can force things to work. You can make a flute choir louder than 55 horns in programming, and so much of the stuff that, ultimately these virtual instruments are supposed to be emulating something that happens acoustically and naturally, unless you don't use it that way. But generally, that's the idea. So if you don't know how to orchestrate, you can't virtually orchestrate. And if you can orchestrate, but you can't program, well, you'll never get it out. But if you can orchestrate and you can program the shit out of it, it still will be nothing like a real orchestra. So, you know what I mean? It's sort of a zero-sum game, I think. I saw a video of people in those dino suits in grocery stores. Yeah, that's like a thing. Those blow-up dino suits. Or you can simply Zimmer your way out. Look, like I said, it's a very different world. The skill sets. Are you bringing that back up? People might not have had a chance to appreciate Draco's Lego Y-Wing. That's his quarantine project so far.
This was... Okay. This...
He got it for Christmas. He was daunted by the 13 bags of it.
Yeah, this together was actually 15 bags in total because there were 2 9s and 2 10s for the jets, but...
Yeah. See? See, everybody's being productive. Could I do a master class about Mahler? I could. We could do a master class about every one of the greats. You know? I mean, although, you know, like the most important part of it would be like, here, let me just give you the names of the greats, and why don't you just go take a year, just listen to that shit all day long? Like, because, you know, go listen to Britten's 4C interludes and tell me if you still think you have any talent. You know what I mean? Will the woodwind class ever happen? Yeah, I assume. I mean, I have to do a lot for that, you know. I have to write. I have not had any time to do it. I had to write a whole bunch of shit. And it's not just shit. So understand, the task for me to write the woodwinds class is not only to write a bunch of woodwind pieces, and not only to demonstrate, you know, the full range of context and things that woodwinds are capable of, which is crazy, how many colors and things that they can do, but it's also to do it in really what could be considered a hostile environment. People don't even use woodwinds anymore, you know? So it's like they've really got to present woodwinds not only in all the contexts they can work in, but in ways in which even your biggest skeptic will go, actually, that's kind of cool. You know what I mean? That's not easy. It's totally doable, but it's not easy. My son is dying. It's like his favorite thing. Oh, yeah, there's tons of great music out there. I witnessed some of the players from your brass masterclass recording at Fox in person. Unbelievable how good those people are and in sync. Oh, yeah, no, they were. That's why I'm so proud of the live brass masterclass, because those people are fucking great. Great. And I'm really, really proud to have them play the music. Do you think that the lack of creativity today compares? Do we think that we lack creativity? Yeah, because again, we talked about some of this yesterday, accidentally. But boring people don't make interesting music, and you know, my grandfather had the benefit of, you know, seeing incredible economic changes and technological changes in the country, and having had to go to war and face his mortality and crouch in a foxhole, and had a lot of life experience and a lot of things to draw upon in just from his life, which is that's the font that we draw from as artists. And you know, today with everybody's actions being so policed all the time and people afraid to say anything or do anything, you know, like when I was a kid, man, you're probably going to get in a fist fight or two. You know, you're probably gonna do something stupid and irresponsible, and maybe you and this chick were gonna get drunk and bang each other, and that was gonna be it, and that was the end of it. Whereas now, that's like, well, that's the end of your life now, because you never know. 20 years ago, she may decide. You know what I mean? Like, you don't. It's just the consequences for things are such that people are way less. I mean, it's not going to last because you can't do this. We're in a position where we are stopping people from exploring and having life experiences that make them interesting people, and they're not willing or able to risk and take chances and make mistakes and all the things that make us human and interesting. And so that's where all the creativity comes from, you know, learning to just not say anything offensive and not get in trouble and not stir controversy, and just just hashtag the appropriate hashtags when necessary, and thoughts and prayers, and just say all the right things. I guess you don't get in trouble, and you won't have to pack up all the shit in your desk and get fired from that soulless corporation, but you're also boring. So there's your creativity. So that's my feeling on that. One of my favorite books, The Federalist Papers, is one of my favorite books. I think it's important to read the Bible and the Quran. I like those two books. I don't read them, but I've read them. I think those are good to read. I think history books, all history books are great to read. I like all history books. I have 2 translations of the Quran. I wish I could remember which one. One was done by an English professor, I believe. And they're very interesting. They're very different. One is more traditionalist, and one is, I don't know, more academic. Good to know. You want to connect. You got to connect to the people. Sun Tzu is like all over my house. I have all the fucking... So... Got to read all. You got to know what's going on. You got to, if you want to talk to the everyman, you got to know something about him. You got to get your hands dirty. You got to go into places in town you don't normally go to, and you got to have experience. You can't be cut off. Do I conduct orchestra? I can. Frankly, anybody can. Apparently, I don't. I've talked about it before because I gained such a healthy respect for how rare it is that a conductor is a great conductor and what happens. I have a great conductor. My conductor, Neil Desby, is legitimately great. And everybody who has ever been underneath his baton has said so and made sure they wanted me to know that for sure. And I just gained such a healthy respect for it, and I realized, man, I'm not going to be one of the people that I hear all the musicians calling douchebags. I'm not going to be one of those guys. I'm not stepping up on that podium until I'm at least as good as my teacher. And I'm not, and I just don't. And first of all, it's not. It's if I'm doing a recording, which is really where it comes up, I need to be in the booth listening to the recording anyway. Otherwise, it takes more time because I got to go back and listen. It's better to be in there. As much as I love being in the room, it's a recording. I need to hear it in the booth, so it's better to have somebody conducting like that. But it's a combination of not wanting to insult the players and a question of knowing exactly how brutal they are on conductors when conductors are not in the room, and a healthy respect for what a great conductor is, and having seen and worked with and trusted a great conductor that I just, that I'm just not going to step up on that podium until I have the same degree of, like, I know if I put music on the stands, it's going to be playable, it's going to work, and the players are going to enjoy it. I know it. I don't have to worry about it, and nobody's going to be like when I'm not in the room. I know that. That's a very comforting feeling. I couldn't say that about conducting, and until that's the case, I wouldn't do it. That's me. We talked earlier. I'm input-based, not output-based. I know that I am not ready to be on that podium as one of the top guys in the world, so I won't do it. Will you mute that for me, pal? Any update on your symphony? Well, I sit on it for a while. I'll sit on that. It'll probably come out when I'm dead. I would push the symphony out, my American Symphony. I would push that out if I really, like, if there was really a place that really wanted to perform it or even wanted to talk about performing it. I think if it had a venue, I would go, okay, let's do this. Otherwise, I'm sort of interested in the way that it's an evolving symphony, because even some of the sentiments in it have, were like ultimately tame versions of what they could have been given another couple of years of reflection. I know that could always be true, but I just happen to believe that we're in a time of a lot of flux and change, and that any sampling at any one point will not be representative of something huge. It'll be a snapshot. And with things evolving very quickly, there's some merit in allowing it to evolve. Do I cooperate with orchestrators when I compose music for films? When I do, it's in a truly, like, I don't use orchestrators. Nobody orchestrates my music. I'm very, very specific. I don't even know how that would be possible, because the composition and the orchestration to me are inextricably linked, and I teach that in my master classes. So there's not like some other way to orchestrate it. There's one way, and then all other ways are not correct. So if I have an orchestrator, because I literally don't have the time, the notes are very, very specific, and I work with people that know what my shorthand is. So aesthetically, if I'm making if I indicate a certain type of voicing, they're like, oh, he's going for this thing. So, but mostly when I work with orchestrators, they're proofreaders. They're exploding it out, but not in a traditional. They're not actually orchestrating anything. I can only remember one cue that somebody else orchestrated, and it doesn't sound like me, and I hate it to this day. It was for this film. I saw Williams with the Vienna Philharmonic in January. My views of what music can do have completely changed. I couldn't listen to music for a week. Yeah, well, that happened. Do you think an adult is too old for learning how to play an instrument? No, never, ever, no. Because the facility that you gain on the instrument will ultimately be secondary to what you experience in the process of learning it. I mean, if you try something and you gain a respect for how difficult it is, that increases your experiential wisdom to a large degree. If you try something and you fail, then you are pushed up against that point where you are now either going to surrender or you're going to push through. That's a great experiential moment for a human being. I'm struggling. I don't seem to have what it takes. And either solution may be the profound one, the one in which you realize limitations you just weren't ready to accept, or the one in which you realize that you give up too early and you push through. Either one of those two destinies is experientially important for a human being and makes for a more interesting life. So whether you become a virtuoso on it or not, whether you even learn to play it with any competence, is sort of secondary to the process that you go through in the attempt. Input-based, not output-based. That's my take on that. I love the Vienna Philharmonic, among my favorite music ensembles on earth. The fact that different cities' orchestras, which have the same complement of people in them generally, and use the same instruments, can have such wildly different personalities, is like one of the last pure, truly organic things. It's like wine. I still love wine because it's like, no, that's it. And once you drink this bottle, it's gone forever. And it was just that bottle, or just this vintage, or just this, just this. It's what it is, and it's fully. Now it's gone. It's like there's something very organic about that. And with orchestras, in this way, they play it this way. Their vibrato is this way. Their interpretations of material is this way. Their intonation is this way. It's what it is. It's purely organic. I really enjoy that. Mike, what are some of the best ways to improve harmony and composition skills? By taking Mike Verta's masterclasses. What is that, a trick question? I often wonder, seriously, ask the guys which ones are best, but I mean, this is what I did this for. It's what I've been doing it for 6 years for, is to try to help people build those skills in a way that it's not all fucking esoteric and academic, but you can actually, here's a skill, and here's why it works, and here's how you use it. Real practical stuff. It's always been practical. When people ask, I say, well, start with composition 1 and get on board with the philosophy, or don't, and orchestration 1. But there's tons of classes, and the guys tell them, which ones you like, because I don't even remember what's in them. But there's tons of them, and that's the whole reason I do them, just so that you can have more fun and more power. That's it. Tchaikovsky, great music, yeah. So I feel like the journey of a musician artist is really about the journey of self. Ideally, all knowledge ultimately becomes self-knowledge if you're allowing for that, But if your goal is to not, like a lot of people's goal is to stop. Just globally, to stop. I wish I didn't have to do anything. I wish I didn't have to go anywhere. I wish I could just stop. It's a weird goal. Transcribe all day long, right? That's a great. Yeah. What is the purpose of this stream? So this stream, one composition a day. Every day I write a composition, and just whatever it is, because I encourage you to do that, and to help. We all need to burn the crap out. And so this started when you go back and watch it. It was the composition day. Today's composition was at the beginning of this, and I put it very specifically at the beginning, so you could stop watching after that if you were so inclined. But then people invariably have other questions and about all sorts of other things, and we're all apparently locked in our homes. So, before I go in, I'm procrastinating from standing in the grocery line. Just procrastinating a little bit, that's okay. In the line of restrictions, how do you approach creative restriction limitations? All restrictions are good, but you're going to fall back on your training, and so, for both the things I'm starting to teach him and the stuff that I use myself about having an awareness of how people respond to music, and how they respond to consonance and dissonance, and how they respond to patterns. Those become the foundational qualities, and we talked about it even with today's composition. That even the most dashed off sketch that I would do today trades in on some very, very important foundational skills that I know I can rely on to make a connection with audience members. And so those can be thought of as limitations, because I'm always trading in on things that previously exist. They're not always brand new things, whether that's a harmonic thing, a device, or a rhythmic thing, or any kind of pattern. Not every note of everything that I do is revolutionary and never heard before. And that turns out to not be a problem. In fact, that's a strong asset. When we speak to each other, we use words that everybody understands. We don't just start out and every word is a new word. That would frustrate people. They would know what you're talking about. So we pepper. In some ways, all those kinds of limitations are also things that create a structure and a framework. When you have limited hours, you don't have time to second guess yourself. You have to go with first instincts. That's a benefit of a limitation. When you are working in a certain idiom and you are, like you're writing an 80s pop tune, you are probably restricted from using a very particular type of jazz harmonic voicing and world. A whole bunch of chords are not available to you if you're going to stay inside of that idiom. That seems like a restriction, but it's also then a place of boundaries and rules for you to then make decisions from. You don't get lost in a sea of options. So, I think the short of that is that most restrictions can actually be orienting, bounding volumes if you look at it like that. Mike, 1 hour ago, I can't do this all day. Well, that's true. What are your thoughts on through composed music or music that is more rhapsodic? There's a structure for everything, right? There's actually a time where formless and structureless music, ambient stuff, there's a place for all of it. So any one of the structures, whether they're formal structures or informal structures, whether they're clearly bounded and quantitatively definable, or whether they're free form and deliberately astructural, there's a context for everything. There's no good music and bad music. There are no good chords or bad chords, good notes or wrong notes. There are ones that are contextually justified or not. And that even that justification might mean that you're in control of it, that you know exactly how people are responding to it and are making intentional choices. That to me is what I teach. Instead of a certain type of music or good music or bad music, I teach control, so that you can do any kind of thing you want. And there's probably an audience for whatever you do. But let's give you the greatest amount of skill and power possible, so that if you're writing a pop tune, it isn't because you can't write anything else. It's because you want to write a pop tune. And if you're writing aleatoric shit, it isn't because you can't write a pop tune. It's because you don't want to write a pop tune. You want to write something aleatoric. Control, craft, skill. That's what we focus on. Have I thought about maybe launching some sort of recurring competition? I haven't. I think it'd be fun for some of us to have something to do in this quarantine. Well, like I said, I'm challenged. You could do what I'm doing. You could write one composition a day and post it. And I'm always about the posting, because you got to put yourself out there. First of all, to exercise the muscle of getting it put out there and start to get used to feeling vulnerable and having getting comfortable with your vulnerabilities exposed, which obviously I'm comfortable with. And it's really important for so many reasons. But Red Band is sort of a safe space, as much as I hate to use the word, because everybody there is trying to get better, legitimately just trying to get better. So, any idea what synth Goldsmith was using for Total Recall? I don't know. Probably somewhere somebody knows. Probably in one of the keyboard magazines from the day. Compositional challenges. But, again, I can put them on it, but you can put them on yourself. You can say, I'm going to write 3 pop tunes this week. I'm going to write 3 jazz tunes this week. I'm going to write 3 nursery rhymes this week. You can make them up. Are you of the philosophy that it's fair to judge film music by itself, and or should it always be judged with the picture it's scored for? Well, again, if you've taken my film classes, you know that's certainly one of the things that's true about, in fact, the biggest difference between film scores today and film scores of the 80s when I was coming up is structure. It's not the sounds, it's the structure. And the people who were composing, John Williams, Jerry Goldsmith, those people had come from a symphonic tradition, if training, if nothing else, learned how to take ideas and motifs and develop those ideas over a long form, over 30 minutes, 3 movements, 90 minutes, whatever it is. And that structure would mirror the screenplay structure, a dramatic, usually 3-act structure. So as the film would develop, as the characters would develop, as they would be the same characters, but they would change as the experiences of the film changed them, the music and the motifs which were attached to those characters would also develop harmonically, and they would modulate, and they would change orchestrationally, so that the Force theme at the beginning of Star Wars is a very different Force theme at the end of Star Wars, even though it's the same theme, and the audience has been connected along with it, and as the character of Luke Skywalker has grown, the theme has grown, and as the context by which you see Luke Skywalker, from his little farm outfit to his militaristic pilot's uniform, as that character changes, as he gets things, and his destiny becomes clearer, the Force theme becomes clearer. So there's always this structural, symphonic, structural, underpinning. And that means that the music itself is self-supporting, which is why you can go back and listen to those old scores, and you can listen to the scores outside of the film, and you can feel where it is in the film. It's almost like the Peter and the Wolf. You can tell which act you're in or where the characters are. The whole film unfolds in a way that's very, very intentional. And today's scores are nothing like that. Today's scores are all individual cues, all of which are totally cool, totally work for the scenes, perfectly appropriate, but they do not together tell a single self-supporting musical cohesive story. That's the difference, because the composers aren't trained to do it, and the films aren't made to capitalize on it. Composers aren't leaned on to take whole scenes by themselves anymore. There was a time in which the composer might be turned to and just said, look, we don't have any dialogue for this scene. The kid's leaving home. He's never going to see his mom again. Go. And the composer's like, I'm on it. And there won't be a word said. And the composer will handle that entire scene. And you can't do that without symphonic long-form training. And that's why we teach that. That's why it's one of the things that I teach. So there's a fundamental difference in the way that the music is written, the training the composers are receiving or not receiving, and the way the directors are relying on or recruiting music. Most directors today are not musically literate. They have not grown up listening to great pieces of music. They literally don't know what it's capable of, so they never turn to it to do what directors used to turn to it to do. And they certainly would never, it's like, you go back and you watch the original Star Trek movie, and there's 6 minutes of Jerry Goldsmith and the fucking model of the Enterprise. Like, nobody would even do that today. They would, like, well, what are you going to do for 6 minutes? Just have music playing? Yeah, like, nobody could even sustain 6 minutes of interest. Whereas that's like the best scene in the whole movie. The rest of it was really fucking boring V'ger shit and the bald chick. All right, what else we got? Watching the stream from the beginning, just want to say it's glorious to see a happy dad and son.
Well, we are.
We are. Thank you, buddy. He's the best. I love him to death. He's my life. He's my music. I bought Composition 1. Thank you so much for the discount. Excited to learn. It's fun. Yeah, there's fun stuff in it, actually. It does start to uncover, it starts to take some of the mysticism, which maybe we don't like because we want to be mystical, but it takes some of the mysticism out of it and connects it more to that, people have a lot of things in common, and they've always been the same. If any of us went back in time 2,000 years ago, we would meet all the same people today. We'd meet the liars and the truth tellers and the opportunists and the fucking smarmy, and the horn dogs, and we'd meet all the people, all the same people. Teenage love and people who were nervous about their jobs or the future, and super religious people, churchy people. We meet all the same exact people. It's always been the same. So learning to capitalize on the things that actually bring us all together and that we all have in common is a very, very powerful skill set to have as a musician or any artist, where we're now going to have a conversation with people and communicate things and ideas to them. If we don't realize how much we have in common with them, if we can't relate to them in any way, no matter what our differences are, then we're just at a disadvantage in terms of being able to with intention, give an experience to somebody and say, oh, this one's going to break your heart. That's a good feeling to have too, and this one's going to kill you. That's a good thing for an artist to be able to decide to do. Or this one, fuck that, we're going on the dance floor. Here comes the dance floor. We're not worried about a thing tonight. We're gonna party like it's 1999. Here comes that tune. To be able to make that choice is great. And it requires some psychological understanding and other understanding of people, and then just some skill and craft for the actual doing of it. It's all good. Mike, what's my favorite Star Trek series? Next Generation, seasons 4 on. Howdy, Mike. I'm still struggling with voice leading while adding extensions to my progressions. Still feels rather arbitrary when I'm placing 9s and 11s and 13s. Well, it shouldn't feel arbitrary unless it is arbitrary, because you have to have a compelling reason, stylistically, one way or the other. If a 5-to-1 isn't enough, and you're like, no, it's got to be a 5-7-to-1. Why? Is there something stylistically? Is there something tonally? Is there something idiomatically that's not like? Or, how come you're not using the flat 9? You know, what's the motivation behind it? Remember, in the end, if you're just doing it to be fancy, well, then you're right, it is arbitrary. But if you're deliberately setting up, and remember, I did this I did this online for something. Eras tend to have vocabularies, tonal and chordal and harmonic styles. It's like clothes, you know, like you can see people hairstyles from the 70s. Well, chords are the same way. And so, you know, being consistent to an era is usually more preferable than mixing and matching, but sometimes that works. So it really comes down to, well, why are you reaching for? Why is it? Why? Because more often than not, you're thinking that you need to add complexity there, where there's probably complexity to be had in simpler forms. We talked yesterday about the fact that, you know, that this seems very complicated. It's just C major on F sharp major. That's all it is. Are two major triads? Is a major triad a complex thing? Because that's all that is. So a lot of times, the perception of complexity can actually be based on very, very simple things, and you might be overcomplicating the process. Favorite John Williams score? I mean, you know, for me, Star Wars was the score that I heard when I was 5, which I came out of the theater and wanted to write music for movies, so it's the most influential score on me. My favorite John Williams score might have to be, I mean, it's so great, and he never quite did what he did in Star Wars the same way. Empire was very, very close. Star Wars had something else to it, but probably Witches of Eastwick. I really like Witches of Eastwick because it is so small, and so it's like you can take all his big giant things away, and it's still it's perfect. It's structurally perfect, and harmonically, and the motifs are so great, and there's hardly anything in it. It's just in case you thought that he needs fucking harp glisses and woodwind runs to be John Williams. It's like, okay, let's take all that out, and I'll check it out. That's probably my favorite score. Mike, an offbeat question. What's your top three libraries? I haven't bought libraries in a long, long time, so I don't know that I can even answer that question. I think they've probably gone on and done things. I don't really like libraries at all. But when I think about mines where a library really exceeded my expectations and immediately became like my number one go-to was Adventure Brass. Like that a library went immediately like, it's like, oh, that one, just that's always there now. And probably the sample modeling stuff, I really, really appreciate. Like, it's so hard to work with internet, but it's so great. I really like the sample modeling stuff. Other than that, I don't know. Is that the original Italian poster for the Star Wars premiere? It is. It was hanging in a theater in Italy. I have all of the Star Wars posters in Italian, which my parents picked up. No, my second wife got them for me. Second of 3. Though I don't think she knows it yet. Been spending a bit of time transcribing Tchaikovsky's children's pieces, breathtakingly simple and beautiful melodies. Yeah. Any thoughts on Tchaikovsky? Yeah. One of the greats. Keep transcribing those. Serious chops. Yes. You should check out performance samples too. Similar to musical sampling stuff. I may have. Wait, whose is that? Aaron Venture's stuff he's been sending me. And I heard recently on an update some really, really good stuff. Is that his? I don't know. What do you think about Williams' non-film music work? I think, well, I happen to know that John Williams has got a fucking chip on his shoulder about, you know, being a serious composer, and he's sort of like always, he doesn't do it as much anymore, but he went through a period where he sort of apologized for his film music as like, oh, no, well, not that, that's not real music. And so when I hear his concert work, I can hear him like compensatorily trying to be taken seriously, and I don't really like most of it. Jasper Blunt. Oh, Jasper, yeah. Oh, Jasper stuff, yeah. Yeah, Jasper's got some good stuff. Good guy too, man. There's some good guys in the sample developing stuff. Yeah. How you doing, Tiger? Ready to go stand in line?
Yeah.
Excited? Yeah. Anyway, let's see if there's any last questions. Favorite Michael Kamen score? Maybe, what was that one with Christopher Walken? You know, where he touched people's hands and he just, that one? Because that's the first one where I was really like, who wrote this music? And it was Michael Kamen. I was transcribing some Williams, and he did this. G flat minor 6 to A flat augmented to F minor. Why does that work so well? I'm trying to see the big picture.
G flat
minor 6.
G flat minor 6.
Oh, is it dead zone? Yeah. So about your specific question, it does not behoove you for me to give you the answer. It behooves you for you to figure out what it might be. Post that on Red Band with at least 2 ideas why you think it works or what you think motivated it. It's always better to try something first. If he hears a word that he doesn't know, I make him try to spell it. Because if you try something and then get it corrected, you actually learn it. Your brain stores it and processes it in a completely different way than if somebody just gives the thing to you. You don't get, it's nowhere near as powerful. It is always better, no matter how off or wrong you are, to attempt it on your own, to let your brain try to recruit its own processes, to sort it out, to dig into its own memory banks, to do all that stuff, because then the correction will be attached to a whole other process versus it's just a piece of data. It's nowhere near as powerful. Post on Red Band with at least a couple of ideas. It doesn't matter if they're wrong. Just do that, okay? Why don't I shop Amazon for food? It takes a while to get the stuff, well, actually, last time we tried, we couldn't get anything. Everything was sold out on Amazon, so I guess we could do that, but we'll go stand in the line because, I like to take the temperature of people. Plus, get some fucking fresh air, Anyway, folks seem to always shit on Williams for his borrowing of Ravel Stravinsky themes. Well, there's not one film composer that you couldn't shit all on, and I've done plenty of that in my Williams. 2 classes on Williams, we busted on him, and Horner got his ass handed to him in my Horner class, despite the fact that he is absolutely one of my all-time favorites and most influential composers, and I love him, and I'm sorry he's dead. And then also we did that in the Silvestri class, and we did that in the Goldsmith class. Busting on composers for their obvious references is an important part of making them mortal, but then also part of talking about the standing on the shoulders of giants, and that we do, and that you can do that all day long, but you ultimately can't escape that you can either write or you can't, that you can either structure or you can't, that you can either, because they're not just literally strung together quotations of famous pieces of music. They have their own internal cohesion, and they represent an aesthetic and structural understanding of the material they're borrowing from. And so that's all important and good. Anyway, what Draco is playing on the piano reminds me of that father-son cue from Jaws. Do you remember that? It was that father cue something like... or something like that. It's like, it's real like... Anyway. So that's it for this stream. Maybe we'll come back later, I don't know. But in the meantime...
so we're all dead.
And in the meantime, if you want to hear today's composition, it was at the start of this stream, and it was not good. I didn't like it, but we did it, and then we'll do another one tomorrow. And maybe tomorrow's will be better. Everybody, stay safe. Wash your hands. Just always be washing your hands. And we will see you guys later. Smash that like button and subscribe. And then, isn't there another thing that you're supposed to do so that people always get
notifications?
Oh yeah. Hit the notification button. I've now officially ever said that on my channel, and I don't even mean it. But thanks guys for participating, because otherwise it would just be us talking to ourselves, and that would be weird.
Yeah. All right. Bye.
Bye everybody.